Going Rip City, welcome back to Blazer Fanatics. I'm your host Duvy with co-host Boozy. How are you doing, Boozy?
Doing well. Blazers won. Unfortunately, my sports bets didn't, go through with the Blazers only winning by three. But hey, I'll take a win. That's all that matters. So, you know, can only wish for the best. So, how about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. How much money did you lose off of that last second layup?
Oh, it's just $5, but I could have made 60 plus. So, it wasn't a lot of actual loss, but it's okay. We're, on to the next day.
Sports betting is really like that sometimes. Okay, so the Blazers got a narrow win over the New York Knicks, 116 to 113. That first half looked really, really good, didn't it, Boozy?
Yeah, I mean, we said that in the pregame. You know, the Blazers get off to a hot start, like they did. Dame hitting, his first five shots. It was huge for Portland to do that. It really got us, out the gates to a big lead. And we knew that, the Knicks would have a tough time, getting back into the game. But they did have, you know, Emmanuel quickly and Alec Burks, show up. That's, but yeah, it's a good thing that what we were doing on RJ Barrett, only allowing him to 8 points. That's usually their second go-to guy, but he just wasn't a factor. You really weren't hearing his name until later in the third, which is always a good sign defensively. And I think the biggest change was that 2-3 zone. What were your thoughts on the new defense for today?
Yeah, it was an interesting look. Obviously, 2-3 zone is not something you really see in the NBA anymore, but we actually ran it like really well. I didn't know Stotts knew what a zone was, but I was really surprised by what I saw. Pleasantly. That first half, especially that first quarter was really great. What? How do you think? Do you think we kind of rattled New York Knicks by coming out with a zone? Do you think they just like weren't expecting it?
I think another thing that could have been a part of that is just the Knicks limited outside scorers. That's kind of something in the 2-3 zone, it forces, shooters. And I think that kind of, they were expecting a easy, man to man defense that Portland usually plays. And that's what I think took Barrett out of the game. It's just, his outside shots not usually there. And that's that's something that really helped us. Obviously Burks shot 5 for 8 from three, quickly went off for 5 for 8 as well. But it really hurt what they were trying to do against us, and I think ultimately that benefited the team. Obviously, we need our defensive adjustments, and with pretty much having the entire week off, not playing since last Monday, I think this it gave us more time to prepare for this next game, which I think watching some film, seeing what they're weak at, and that's something we should hope that the Blazers look forward to doing more often is, playing to the other team's weaknesses and not letting, shooters get streaky against us. So always a good sign to see changes.
Yeah, I think I think you're definitely right. I think we had a lot more time to prepare with the two Grizzlies games being canceled. And we really, aside from obviously Burks and Quickly, they didn't shoot very well. And being able to limit the scoring to just two guys and not have some rando third go off like it normally happens, was a big reason why we were able to hold out so well in that first half. Well, I want to talk about Derek Jones for a second because tonight kind of felt like his breakout game, didn't it? I mean, 14 points, 5 of 8 shooting. He looked a lot more active on the offensive end other than just standing in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, he had his season high, very early into that first quarter, getting to the bucket, hitting even the outside shot at a pretty high clip. And, Covington had an off day, which is not always the worst thing. He brings a lot more to the team than what the stats say. And it's good to see that obviously with McCollum out, we're gonna need others to step up, the scoring. And obviously Dame's gonna do it, scoring 39, but seeing Jones scoring 14, off very efficient numbers, it's really good to see. And it could have even been higher if, we would have seen him more on the open back cut because this team was heavily overplaying, Jones. But it was always good to see a Jones or even a Covington throughout this period without Nurkic and CJ step up like they have.
Yeah, Anthony Simons went off on the bench. He shot great, 6 and 9, 4 6 from three. He was really active tonight. And we had mentioned in our preview we didn't really think they had the perimeter defenders to stop Portland. And I think that was evident tonight with Dame going off for 39. We specifically said nobody on that team could really handle Dame. Um, Kind of going back to what we had talked about in our preview, how do you think Ennis Cantor handled Mitchell Robinson?
He Mitchell Robinson obviously he's going to get rebounds. That's what he does. He gets put back dunks. But for the most part, he wasn't. Mitchell Robinson wasn't really active. Even with tipping the ball out to shooters, it was usually one and dones for the most part. With the Knicks turning the ball over, through our run early on, which really helped. But I think Cantor ultimately, stayed pretty consistent and just did what he needed to do. Obviously, in a zone, you're not designated to guard somebody, so it's good to see that the big guy wasn't slipping around through the cracks and getting those loose balls. So Cantor obviously did his job if you weren't hearing Robinson's name too much. So can't complain.
Yeah, let's move into the second half now. What went wrong, really? I mean, we ended up only winning by 3 after having a huge halftime lead. Where did it go wrong? What were our shortcomings in the second half?
I think we just weren't playing aggressive. We were up 20 at half, up, and it just seemed like we were just going to coast to a win. That's kind of how you saw it out in the court. You're like, you know what? Let's just, we're going to win. Let's just shoot, play our time, take our time on offense, and just get best shots. And I think that went away from the amazing ball movement we had in the first half. And obviously, Dame, they were focusing on Dame a little more, so he wasn't able to get as open of shots, but still got his looks. But I think it was just the ball movement. It got really stagnant, or that, players were passing up good looks. Sometimes that works out, but I think in this sense, when we weren't playing aggressive enough, it just kind of backfired on us a little bit.
Yeah, in our preview we had mentioned that we can't let the Knicks control the pace of play and we can't really play in a half court set against them. And I think that is exactly what we did in the second half. In the first half, we were running the floor, we were creating turnovers. And in the second half, we played a lot more of a half court set. And that's something the Knicks do really well is play in the half court. And they're a scrappy team. They're going to go for steals and loose balls, and they did that against us. And they were pressuring Dame really heavily towards closer into the fourth quarter, and the Blazers really still can't handle a double team when Lillard's the one getting double teamed. We stand there with the ball. We stand there, just looking at the ball. We don't move, and I think that was part of our faults in that second half. I think we made adjustments away from the zone, which we were expecting them to counter the zone, so we tried to mix it up and go back to man, but it didn't work out in our favor. Uh, but still, we needed to do what we needed to do to hang on. As the screen shows Quickly's layup at the end, so you don't get your money for tonight. But honestly, it's it still wasn't that bad of a second half. I mean, it looked bad because we blew a big lead, but I think that overall we still played good basketball. We did what we needed to do to hold on to the win. We got out coached in the second half because I mean, I guess you can say at least we tried to make adjustments in the second half, but Uh, yeah, I think overall it still wasn't a bad performance.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain with the Blazers win, especially against the best defensive rating in the league right now at, just a little above 100 points, putting 116 up on them. That's always a good sign too, that at least without CJ and Nurk, we can still score. And I think that's promising. You know, we have another game against a faster, totally different pace team tomorrow in Oklahoma City. So that will be a totally off a back-to-back set too, just totally different paces and everything. So hopefully we can take the defense that we played tonight and apply it to tomorrow. I think there's a lot of good things that we could take away from this, and just to see that we've made adjustments, since Monday's game against the Spurs. I think that's good that we've taken that bad game, losing a blowout, and actually using it against a good defensive team. And it's always good when Rodney Hood only scores 7 points and we put up 116. Everybody outside of Melo and Covington shot very efficiently. Covington and Melo didn't have their games today, shooting a combined 2 of 16 from three. But that just shows that without CJ, we can put the ball through the net, and it's it's hopeful. So, what do you think? Melo and Covington are gonna bounce back games tomorrow, or what are we thinking?
I'm looking for one of them, in my opinion, to have a bounce back game. I don't think both of them are capable of having great games for some reason. It just doesn't seem possible. I don't know who's gonna have a good game. I lean more towards Melo because I think he's more aggressive on the offensive end, and we try to involve him in the offense more. So I tend to think that Melo's gonna have a better game. But and we kind of have seen Covington shoot poorly this year for the most part. So we're kind of lucky that he does so many other things really well because scoring this year does not seem to be one of them. But I think Melo has an opportunity, especially OKC being his former team. Melo could have a good game tomorrow night, and if we continue to have consistency with guys like Simons and Trent, and Hood has a better game because Hood shot well, he just didn't really shoot a lot. So if we stay hot and then add Melo to that, I mean, you know that's can't go wrong with that. So, um, yeah, I think that is going to do it for us. We have the OKC Thunder tomorrow night. Back to back game. Kind of wishing we didn't make this one so tough on us so that we could have had some bench guys in there and Dame didn't have to play until the end of the game. But it is what it is. Your Blazers get a 116 to 113 win against the New York Knicks. Thank you guys for watching. You can follow us on Twitter at FanaticsBlazer. Thank you.